In the vast ocean, where the waves roll endlessly and the sea wind howls through the faded sails, there is a silent hunt going on, a shark hunt. Not a hasty hunt, not a fierce stabbing like in science fiction stories, but a series of long journeys, where fishermen face the ocean's top predators, the big, strong, wise and deadly sharks. The fishing boats are not always large ships with modern machinery. Sometimes they are just wooden boats a few dozen meters long, equipped with enough equipment, but carry decades of experience of the fishermen who have weathered the storm. They know that sharks are not like any other fish. They are not fooled by simple nets, nor are they easily lured by unskilled casting. Catching sharks requires strategy, cunning, strength, and even recklessness. The story begins before the sun has risen. On deck, fishermen are preparing hundreds of meters of longline, called longline, an ancient but still extremely effective weapon for hunting sharks. The line is several kilometers long, attached with hundreds, even thousands of sharp hooks, on which are carefully prepared baits, tuna heads, fresh squid, or even pieces of fish that have smelled to attract sharks from afar. Each hook is carefully checked, because just a small mistake, such as the hook is not sharp enough, the line is not strong enough, when the shark bites, it will destroy everything. When the sea is calm, the fishermen drop the line. The line drifts along, drifting with the ocean currents, hovering at the depths where they believe the sharks are lurking. There are fishermen so experienced that just by smelling the sea breeze, observing the flocks of seagulls or seeing a few flying fish, they know there are sharks there. They rely on experience, instinct and even legends passed down from generation to generation. Night fell. The boat dropped anchor and drifted gently with the current. Each fisherman kept his eyes trained on the sea, waiting for signs, a slight tug on the line, a soft whine from the winch, or a sudden light in the eyes of his teammate, that a shark had taken the bait. Then everyone rushed into position. The winch worked at full power, gradually pulling the giant animal up from the depths of the sea. But the shark was not one to be subdued easily. It struggled, twisted, using its own weight and terrifying strength to break the line, bend the iron hook, and sometimes cause the whole boat to tilt to one side. At this time, the fishermen needed not only strength, but also cunning. They knew how to adjust the pulling force, taking turns holding the line, avoiding the hook from slipping. There were cases where the shark was so big that they had to fight persistently for hours. Every minute of struggle was a life or death battle, where people stood between life and death, between the instinct for survival and the desire to conquer. When the last shark was pulled close to the side of the boat, everyone rushed out, using large steel hooks. They hooked the shark's gills or mouth, then lifted it up with a crane. The animal weighed hundreds of kilograms, even tons, thrashing about one last time before lying motionless on the deck, its wild eyes still wide open as if it had not accepted defeat. The smell of blood, the cheers, the sound of machinery, the sound of wind and waves blended into a fierce symphony of the ocean. The trip did not have just one shark. Sometimes there were 5, 10, or dozens of them in a single haul. Each one was a story, a struggle, a new scar in the fishermen's memories. There was a giant hammerhead shark nearly 4 meters long, with teeth like daggers. There was a great white shark that fought silently, only to burst into tears when pulled up. There were some that were pulled halfway and suddenly broke the rope. Disappearing into the darkness under the deep water, leaving regret in the eyes of the hunters. Japan is a country surrounded by oceans, where the sea is not only a living space but also a part of the human soul. For generations, fishing has been an inseparable part of Japanese culture. Among them, shark fishing, full of adventure and mystery, is considered one of the most dangerous but noble jobs for traditional coastal fishermen. When the shark hunting season begins, coastal fishing villages such as those in Chiba, Miyagi or Wakayama prefectures become bustling. Small fishing boats, usually only 10 to 20 meters long, begin their journeys far out to sea. Unlike the industrial-scale fishing of the West, many Japanese fishermen still maintain the traditional way of fishing by hand, takurizuri, an art of fishing that requires patience, meticulousness and the ability to face unexpected dangers. Starting at dawn, when the sky is still a dim lead color, the fishermen leave the dock. The boat weaves through the thick fog offshore. They move to familiar fishing grounds, where small fish or squid gather, because those are the waters where sharks often hunt. The bait is carefully prepared in advance, mostly fresh squid or the heads of mackerel and tuna. With the strong fishy smell that attracts predators. The hooks are razor sharp, tied firmly with parachute cord, connected to hundreds of meters of rope. Each hook is tied to a small buoy to monitor the movement. When a shark bites the bait, the buoy jerks violently, then sinks completely. That is when everyone on the boat is ready to join in. Without a winch like the larger ships, Japanese fishermen often have to use their hands and strength to pull the fish up. A brutal tug of war begins. The shark is not easily subdued. It struggles frantically underwater. Each flick of its tail is a jerk so strong that it can throw people off the boat if they are not careful. Experienced fishermen learn to tire out the sharks, releasing the line, pulling gently, then tightening it, little by little. Sometimes it takes tens of minutes, even hours, to bring the majestic animal close to the boat. If the fish is too big, like great whites, tiger sharks or hammerheads weighing hundreds of kilograms, they use a large iron hook, called a gafu, to stab the fish into the gills, holding it firmly before pulling it up. Precise, decisive hooks are vital, because if they miss, the fish can capsize the boat or break the fishing line. Each time the shark is lifted out of the water, it is a scene of suffocating suspense. Under the rising sun, drop of water drip from its sharp dorsal fin, its cold eyes seeming to know no fear. The shark is like a warrior who has fought to the last minute. On the deck, the panting of fishermen, the sound of metal hitting the wooden floor, and the sound of waves crashing together create a vivid picture of the battle between humans and the ocean. Not every trip is successful. Once, fishermen discovered a shark but could not pull it up because the rope was cut. Sharks sometimes attack the boat itself. Capsizes still occur occasionally, especially with small boats that carry sharks so heavy that the boat loses balance. But danger cannot stop the desire to make a living. For Japanese fishermen, Shark fishing is not only for meat, but also for the value of the shark's fins. Shark fins, especially the dorsal and pectoral fins, are cleaned, dried, and exported to China at exorbitant prices after being cut off. Although condemned by many countries for affecting the marine ecosystem, shark fishing is still maintained in many areas of Japan, as long as the fishing quotas set by the government are followed. After the sharks are caught, fishermen use sharp knives to cut them open right on the boat. The meat is separated to be frozen or made into sashimi. The bones and heads can be sold to processing factories, while the fins are carefully kept. Dried or soaked in salt water for preservation. The strong fishy smell covers the deck of the boat, but no one complains. It is the smell of hard work, sweat and survival in the harsh nature. In fishing villages like Katsura, in the mornings when sharks are brought into the port, people come out to see. Sharks up to 3 or 4 meters long are displayed on the market floor, next to large blocks of ice. Traders from Tokyo, Osaka or from export companies come to the scene, bidding right on the deck of the boat. A shark can bring in from several hundred to several thousand US dollars, depending on the species and physical condition. It is the result of many days and nights of struggling at sea. For the Japanese, the sea is not a place to conquer, but to understand and live with. Shark fishermen never say they won the sea. They always talk about their journeys with awe and humility. They know that one big wave or one out of control shark can take it all. But they keep coming back, year after year, as an unspoken ritual of a life spent on the water. The sun is scorching hot on the deck of a small boat. Bare-chested, sunburned Indonesian men, holding fishing lines as long as ropes, wait silently, in the waters of Flores, or the edge of Sulawesi. Thousands of fishermen still make a living by hunting a fish that not everyone dares to face, sharks. They have no modern machinery, no large ships or fish-finding radar. They only have patience, calloused fingers and an almost innate recklessness. Traditional wooden boats, often called jukong, are hand-built from forest wood, about 8 to 12 meters long, with small, old engines, but enough to overcome the fierce waves. The boats usually have only 2 to 4 people, loaded with bait, rope and a few rudimentary boxes of ice. The trip can last 3 days, 5 days, even a week at sea. They know the risks, but there is no other way. It is a profession passed down from our ancestors. In Indonesia, fishermen often use the term handline shark fishing, meaning hand fishing for sharks. The fishing line is no different from a rope but is stronger, with a large, round hook at the end that is sharpened. The bait is usually sardines, flying fish or dried squid, sometimes beef offal from the market, stuffed into a cloth bag to retain the smell. Experienced fishermen say that sharks have a better sense of smell than sniffer dogs. If there is even a slight fishy smell drifting with the ocean current, it will come from a few hundred meters away. After dropping the line to a depth of 30 to 70 meters, the fishermen just wait. Without a fishing rod or a buoy, they tie the end of the line to a small piece of wood and hold it in their hands, feeling every vague vibration from the bottom of the ocean. Sometimes they wait for 4 to 5 hours without a single bite. But with just one strong pull, the fisherman's heart immediately tensed up like a rope being pulled. The shark had taken the bait. The battle began. It was not like pulling a normal fish. When a shark was hooked, it would struggle madly. It would dive deep, swish its tail to create waves, sometimes dragging the boat hundreds of meters away. The fishermen did not dare to tighten the rope too quickly. If the rope broke, it would be all over. They kept releasing, pulling, releasing, pulling. Little by little, sweat ran down their faces. Their hands bled from the friction with the rope. Their shoulders and chests ached from having to resist the force of pulling like a mad buffalo. But their eyes did not waver. Because it was a life and death moment, between man and shark. Only one side could win, once. A young fisherman named Wayne went out to sea to hunt sharks for the first time with his father. They hooked a giant hammerhead shark nearly 4 meters long. When pulling it close to the boat, the fish went crazy, tossed a bucket of ice water, shot its tail up and almost toppled the entire side of the boat. Wayne was injured in the shoulder by the tight rope, but he did not let go. Finally, they pulled the shark up. On deck, the giant animal thrashed about, its silver scales gleaming, its sharp white teeth bared in mockery. His father used a sharp spear to stab it dead. The shark's eyes remained open. Dull and unyielding. In Indonesia, sharks are sold whole, fins, meat, liver, even skin and cartilage. The fins are hung in bunches on the roofs to dry, then bagged and sold to Chinese traders. Each long fin can sell for $50 to $200, depending on the species. A few years ago, traders would go to each village and bargain on the spot. But now, fishermen have to bring them back to port, line up, and weigh them by the kilo. Prices are unstable. And the hardship is immeasurable. Some trips out to sea bring in 5 sharks, making a profit of a few million rupiah. But there are also trips that end in empty hands. Or worse, they are swept away by storms for a week before being rescued. Each season, when the northeast wind blows strongly, there are waves several meters high. Many jukong never return. Some people go missing and their bodies are not found. However, the villagers continue their old occupation. They burn incense before going to sea. Pray to the sea god. Pray to the spirits of their ancestors for protection. Stories of sharks capsizing boats, sharks biting the hands of the people pulling them, or injured sharks swimming close to shore and then crawling onto the sandbank have all become legends, passed down from ear to ear in the dark before new trips. Some older fishermen say that sharks also know fear. One was caught, had its fins cut off, and was released back into the sea. A year later, they saw it again. Its body was badly scarred, but it was still alive, still following the boat. That time, it did not bite the bait anymore. It just swam around the boat, as if in revenge. As if in reminder. From then on, they never cut off its fins and released it alive again. They either killed it or did not catch it. The Sea of Japan is never gentle. It is cold, fierce and always changing like a creature with moods. In winter, the wind blows down from Siberia. The sea is foaming white. The waves are so high that small boats are like floating trash. But it is during this harsh season that fishermen still go out to sea to catch sharks. Because that is when the sharks move the most. Looking for prey closer to shore. Easier to reach. And because winter is also when shark fins are most valuable. In the port of Kasanuma in Miyagi Prefecture, famous for its shark fin processing, the shark fishing fleets never rest. From early morning, each small steel-hulled boat, carrying 3 to 5 fishermen, leaves the dock. The boats are not large. But are equipped with winches, simple locators and rudimentary freezers placed under the hold to preserve the fish. Each trip usually lasts 1 to 3 days. And there are no fixed breaks. Only when the line is jerked hard will everything fall into place like a pre-programmed machine. Japanese fishermen never shout when pulling sharks. They are silent, focused, and coordinated like boxers in the ring. One person holds the line. Another adjusts the pulling force. And another prepares the hook and knife. When the shark emerges from the water, its mouth wide open, its teeth shining white, its eyes jet black, that is when all the muscles are tense. If it is just a second late, it can break free. But if it is too strong, the line can break. A small difference means the whole trip is a failure.